Hello, I'm ZRC Films. This is a read aloud of my new story from the Shadow Files. Now like, subscribe, lock your doors, turn your lights off and listen.
Sarah and Tom had been dating for 2 years when they decided to move in together. They found the perfect house, a charming Victorian home with a large backyard and plenty of space for their future family. At first, everything seemed perfect. They spent their weekends painting the walls and picking out furniture. But as they settled into their new home, strange things started to happen. They heard whispers in the night, footsteps in the hallway, and doors opening and closing on their own. Sarah brushed it off as old house creaks, but Tom was convinced something was wrong. One night, Tom woke up to find Sarah missing. He searched the entire house and finally found her in the basement, huddled in the corner, staring at the wall. She was muttering to herself and wouldn't respond to him. Tom tried to pull her away, but she resisted. That's when he noticed the strange symbols etched into the wall. They looked like they had been carved with a knife. Tom called the police, but they didn't find anything unusual. They suggested that Sarah might have had a mental breakdown and needed medical attention. But things only got worse from there. Sarah started having nightmares and would wake up, screaming in the middle of the night. Tom tried to soothe her, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. One day, while cleaning the attic, Tom found a journal hidden beneath a floorboard. It belonged to the previous owner of the house, a man named Henry who had been part of a cult. As Tom read through the journal, he learned that the cult had used the house as a meeting place. They believed in dark rituals and sacrifices to appease their god. Tom realized that the strange symbols in the basement were part of the cult's rituals. He knew they had to leave the house immediately, but Sarah was too far gone. She had become obsessed with the cult and believed that they held the key to unlocking a greater power. Tom tried to reason with her, but she refused to listen. One night, Tom woke up to find Sarah gone again. He searched the entire house, but this time he knew where to look. He found her in the basement, surrounded by cult members, performing a ritual. Tom tried to stop them, but they overpowered him. He watched in horror as they sacrificed Sarah, believing that it would bring them closer to their god. Tom managed to escape the house, but he was never the same. He spent the rest of his life haunted by the memories. 2 years had passed since Tom's girlfriend Sarah was sacrificed by the cult in their old house. Tom had moved away, changed his name, and tried to forget about the horrors he had experienced. But the memories of that night still haunted him, and he knew that he could never truly escape them. One day, as Tom was walking home from work, he noticed a car following him. He quickened his pace, but the car continued to tail him. When Tom turned around, he saw that the car was filled with cult members. Tom knew that he needed to get away, but he was surrounded. He ran through the streets, trying to lose them, but they were relentless. Eventually, he found himself cornered in an alleyway. The cult members emerged from the car, their faces twisted in grim determination. Tom saw that they were armed with knives and other weapons. He knew that he had to fight for his life. In a sudden burst of adrenaline, Tom fought back. He punched and kicked, using everything he had learned in self-defense classes. The cult members were caught off guard, but they quickly regained their composure. Tom fought valiantly, but he was outnumbered. The cult members overpowered him and dragged him back to their car. They drove him back to the old house, the same place where Sarah had been sacrificed. Tom was thrown into the basement, where he found himself surrounded by the cult members. They taunted him, telling him that he would be the next sacrifice. Tom knew that he had to find a way out. He searched the basement for anything he could use as a weapon. He found an old piece of wood and fashioned it into a crude club. He knew that he had to fight, even if it meant risking his life. As the cult members prepared their ritual, Tom launched himself at them. He swung the club with all his might, hitting one member in the head. The others quickly closed in on him, but Tom fought back with everything he had. In the chaos that followed, Tom managed to escape. He ran out of the basement and into the night, not looking back. He knew that he had narrowly escaped death, but he also knew that the cult would never stop hunting him. Tom moved again, this time to a new city far away. He changed his name once more and tried to start a new life. But he knew that the cult would always be out there, waiting for their chance to strike again. Another 2 years had passed since Tom narrowly escaped the cult's clutches. He had moved to yet another city and had managed to build a new life for himself. But the memories of the cult still haunted him, and he carried a pistol with him at all times. One day, while walking through a park, Tom noticed a group of people gathered in a circle. As he got closer, he realized that they were performing a ritual similar to the one he had witnessed in his old house. Tom tried to leave, but the cult members spotted him. They approached him, asking if he wanted to join their group. Tom was horrified but tried to play along, hoping to get away safely. But things quickly turned violent. The cult members realized that Tom was not a true believer and attacked him, hoping to impress their superiors in the cult. Tom fought back with his pistol, shooting several of the cult members. But one managed to disarm him, and they closed in for the kill. In a desperate move, Tom lunged at the cult member with his bare hands, managing to strangle him. The other cult members were shocked and angry, believing that Tom had killed one of their own. But before they could retaliate, a group of police officers arrived. They had been tipped off by a concerned citizen who had witnessed the cult's ritual. The cult members tried to flee, but the police caught them. It was discovered that this was a copycat cult, trying to mimic the original cult's rituals in order to gain their approval. Tom was cleared of any wrongdoing and was hailed as a hero by the police. The copycat cult members were arrested and charged with various crimes. But Tom knew that the original cult was still out there, and he continued to live in fear of their retribution. He had learned that violence was sometimes necessary to protect oneself, but he still hoped that someday he could find peace. Tom was shocked when he saw the news report about the cult and the copycat cult being found dead, ripped apart and mangled. He knew that there was something sinister at work, something far beyond human capability. Weeks passed, and the news reports continued to come in. 10 people a day were being found killed in the same gruesome manner as the cult members. The authorities were baffled, unable to identify the killer. Tom knew that he had to be careful. He had a feeling that the original cult was somehow involved, that they had unleashed a force beyond their control. He knew that he was still in danger, even though the cult members were dead. As the days passed, the news reports became more frequent. The killer was indiscriminate, targeting people of all ages and backgrounds. Tom knew that he had to act, that he couldn't just sit back and watch as innocent people were murdered. He began to investigate, scouring the internet for any clues. He discovered that the original cult had been performing a ritual that they believed would summon a powerful demon. They had hoped to use this demon to gain ultimate power and control. But something had gone wrong. The demon they had summoned had turned on them, killing them all before going on a rampage. Tom knew that he had to stop the demon, that he was the only one who could. He armed himself with his pistol and set out to find the demon. He searched high and low, but he couldn't find any trace of the demon. It seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. But Tom didn't give up. He continued to search, refusing to back down. Finally, after weeks of hunting, he found the demon. It was a massive, terrifying creature, with razor-sharp claws and glowing red eyes. Tom knew that he was outmatched, but he refused to give up. In a desperate battle, Tom fought the demon with everything he had. He shot it repeatedly with his pistol, but it seemed to have no effect. Finally, in a moment of desperation, Tom remembered the journal that he had found in the attic of his old house. It had contained a spell that was supposed to banish demons. Tom recited the spell, pouring all of his energy into it. The demon shrieked in pain, thrashing and writhing as it was banished back to the underworld. Tom collapsed, exhausted but relieved. He knew that the demon was gone, and that he had saved countless lives by defeating it. Despite Tom's efforts to banish the demon, the killings continued. But now, they were different. The killer was leaving clues and cult symbols at the crime scenes, and people had reported seeing a tall figure in a dark cloak lurking around the area. Tom knew that this was no ordinary serial killer. He suspected that the original cult was somehow involved, that they had found a way to control the demon or had summoned another one. The murders were getting closer and closer to Tom's house. He knew that he was in danger, but he refused to back down. He was determined to put an end to the killings once and for all. Tom began to investigate the clues left by the killer. He discovered that the symbols were ancient, dating back to a cult that had worshipped a powerful demon. He also learned that the tall figure in the cloak was a cult member, tasked with carrying out the killings. Tom knew that he had to find this cult member and stop him. He armed himself with his pistol and set out to hunt him down. For days, Tom searched the city, looking for any sign of the cult member. Finally, he spotted him, lurking in an alleyway. Tom approached him cautiously, his pistol at the ready. The cult member turned to face him, his face hidden by the hood of his cloak. He drew a knife and lunged at Tom, but Tom was ready. He fired his pistol, hitting the cult member in the chest. The cult member fell to the ground, dead. Tom searched his body and found a note with an address. He knew that this was the location of the cult's hideout. Tom made his way to the hideout, his heart pounding with fear and anticipation. He burst into the room, pistol drawn, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But what he found was even worse than he had imagined. The cult had summoned another demon, one far more powerful than the first. The demon was massive, with wings that spanned the entire room. Tom knew that he was outmatched, but he refused to give up. He recited the banishing spell once again, pouring all of his energy into it. The demon shrieked in pain, writhing and thrashing as it was banished back to the underworld. The cult members were all dead, their bodies torn apart by the demon's fury. Tom collapsed, exhausted but relieved. He knew that he had saved countless lives by defeating the cult and banishing the demon. But he also knew that he was free of the cult. Finally, as Tom was walking out of the building, the house suddenly burst into flames. He watched in horror as the two demons he had banished came out of the flames, accompanied by shadow people. Tom realized that his spell hadn't worked on these demons. They were too powerful, too ancient. He knew that he was in grave danger, but he refused to back down. Tom drew his pistol and tried to fight, but the demons were too strong. Their claws tore through his flesh, and he fell to the ground, bleeding and in pain. Tom tried to run, but the demons were faster. They chased him through the building, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Tom realized that he was trapped. He had nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. He was going to die, just like Sarah and all the other victims of the cult. In a moment of desperation, Tom turned to face the demons. He knew that he couldn't defeat them, but he refused to go down without a fight. Tom fired his pistol, hitting one of the demons in the chest. The demon roared in pain, but it kept coming. Tom fired again and again, but it was no use. The demons closed in on him, their claws ready to tear him apart. Tom closed his eyes, ready for the end. But then, something strange happened. The shadow people suddenly turned on the demons, attacking them with a ferocity that Tom had never seen before. Tom watched in amazement as the shadow people fought the demons, tearing them apart with their bare hands. He realized that they were some sort of ancient protectors, tasked with keeping the demons at bay. Tom tried to escape, but it was too late. The demons turned on him, tearing him apart with their claws. Tom died, his body torn and mangled. As the flames consumed the building, the shadow people disappeared into the darkness, taking the demons with them. The cult was gone, but so was Tom. His legacy would live on, a cautionary tale of the dangers of the occult.
Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you liked this story, please visit my website to find others just like this. Comment your theories and what you would like to see happen next.